अक्षरम् हृदि निरन्तरम् भासते स्वयं लिख्यते हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वम् चिन्वता मज्जता वा पवनचरणरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवतु देहं मृण्मयम् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तभावशुद्धिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भाव कोऽहं भावयुत कुतो वरधिया दृष्टात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं नमो रमण. In this Thursday satsang from Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning, as usual, we will be reading from the work of Muruganar Swamigal, Guru Vachaka Kovai. We will be reading 2 verses, and each verse reading will be followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that will be followed by a 10-minute practice of self-inquiry. After these 2 segments are completed, there will be a summing up by our president, Dr. Sharadaka, and that will be followed today by chanting of Sri Ramana Stotram by Vaibhavji and Pratnama. We begin our satsang by taking 1 verse from Guru Vachaka Kovai. We are reading from the segment Meditation on the Truth. The earlier segment is Investigation, And the following segment, there are 3 segments. The segment following meditation is Anubhava, experience of the truth. We are reading from the subsegment, the benefit of Jnana bestowing Vairagya. In fact, bestowing has been added. Jnana Vairagya is the phrase that has been mentioned. The benefit of Jnana Vairagya or Jnana bestowing Vairagya. The verse number that has come to us is verse number 839. And this is followed by quite a big note. So after the note is over, we will start our Atmacharana. The verse goes like this. Verse 839 on the benefit of Jnana bestowing Vairagya. What a wonder! The sadhu who has a majestic mind and who moves about with no possessions, feeling, I do not want anything, confounds the understanding of a king who deserves to be much pitied because of the anxieties that world is mine. What a wonder! When the mind is in a state of wonder, it is in the supreme state of bhakti and jnana, when it is not giving any shape to that wonder. What a wonder! The sadhu who has a majestic mind and who moves about with no possessions, feeling, I do not want anything, confounds the understanding of a king, of even a king, who deserves to be much pitied because of the anxieties that world is mine. This is the finding of modern psychology also. Dan Gilbert, there are a few videos, that we feel having choices, having multiple choices in our experiences, this or that or that or that is happiness. But psychology, true to true enquiry, finds that is sorrow, that is misery, that having multiple choice gives misery to the mind rather than happiness. That is what is mentioned here. The one who has nothing to choose, no piece of possession to show as the sensory possession or knowledge possession, such a one is so happy, is so free. And the one who is full of possession, who has decisions to make, what to do with this person, what to do with that person, whether this will suit the law, whether that will not suit the law, all this is misery. Absolute misery. That is why it is said that it confounds the understanding of a king who feels he has everything, he has a whole set of things, but he is totally in misery because he has to make work with his mind and keep whirling it in all those anxieties. The story that is there here, I will read, is a beautiful one. Bhagavan. Dattatreya used to wander the forests without even a loincloth. He was always full of the bliss of Brahman. Seeing this, Yadu Maharaj, a local ruler, thought to himself, how is it that he is always blissful? I have everything, but I still have to suffer. Bhagavan. The next this is from Living by the Words. The next one is from Letters. Bhagavan, a great Mahatma, was living as a sadhu under a tree in a forest. He always used to keep with him 3 stones. While sleeping, he used to keep one of them under his head, another under the waist, and the third under the legs, and cover himself with a sheet. When it rained, the body used to be on the stones, and so the water would flow underneath. and the water that fell on the sheet too would flow down. So there was no disturbance to his sleep. He used to sleep soundly. When sitting, he used to keep the three stones together like a hut and sit upon them comfortably. Hence, snakes and other reptiles did not trouble him, nor did he trouble them, for they used to crawl through the slits under the stones. Somebody used to bring him food and he would eat it. And so there was nothing for him to worry about. A king who came to that forest for hunting saw this sadhu and felt, what a pity, how much he must be suffering by having to adjust his body suitably to those stones and sleep thereupon. I must take him home and keep him with me at least for 1 or 2 days and make him feel comfortable. So thinking, he went home and sent 2 of his soldiers with a palanquin and its bearers with instructions to invite the sadhu respectfully and bring him to his palace. He also said if they did not succeed to bring him, they would be punished. They came and saw the sadhu and told him that the king had ordered them to bring him to the palace and that he should come. When he showed disinclination to go with them, they said they would be punished if they returned without him. So they begged him to come, if only to save them from the trouble. As he did not want them to get into trouble on his account, he agreed to go with them. What was there for him to pack up? A kaupina, a sheet, and those 3 stones. He folded and kept the kaupina in the sheet, kept those 3 stones also in the sheet, and tied them together. What is this? The Swami is bringing with him some stones when he is going to the Raja's palace. Is he mad? Or what? Thought these soldiers. Anyway, he got into the palanquin and his bundle and came to the king. The Raja saw that bundle, thought it contained some personal effects, took him into the palace with due respect, feasted him properly, and arranged a tape cot with a mattress of silk cotton to sleep upon. The sadhu opened his bundle, took out the 3 stones, spread them on the bed, covered himself with the sheet, and slept as usual. The next morning, the king came, bowed to him with respect, and asked, Swami, is it comfortable for you here? Swami said, yes. What is there wanting here? I am always happy. No, that is not it, Swami, said the king. You are experiencing hardships in the forest by having to sleep on those stones. Here, this bed, the silk cotton bed, and this house must be giving you happiness. That is why I am asking. The Swami said, the bed was there, the same bed is here also. The bed that is here was there also. So I have the same happiness. There is nothing wanting at any time, either in regard to my sleep or to my happiness. The king was puzzled, looked at the cot. He saw that 3 stones were on it. Whereupon the king immediately prostrated before the sadhu and said, O holy man, without knowing your greatness, I brought you here with the intention of making you happy. I did not know that you were always in a state of happiness. So I behaved in this foolish manner. Please excuse me and bless me. After making up for his mistake in this way, he allowed the sadhu to go his way. There is this short story of a village and 4 philanthropists in which the village is captured by a foreign power and all the warriors in the village are put in a prison. The old people are allowed to be by themselves, and amongst the old people are these 4 philanthropists. The first philanthropist goes to the capturing party and tells them, I want to provide water for the imprisoned warriors so that they don't fall ill. And the permission is granted, and the warriors who are imprisoned get pure water. The next great philanthropist uses his wealth to get food for them, nice food, so that they stay healthy. And the third philanthropist uses all his money to bring bedding and clothing so that they are comforted. The fourth philanthropist is a jnani. He asks from the captors, they are just like us, so give me the key and let them be as free as the rest of us. He gets the key and sets the warriors free. That is the role of the jnani, says Bhagavan. that those of us who feel trapped in this samsara, there are philanthropists amongst us who are not of any low or high quality. They give many things to comfort us within the prison. But the jnani is the one who finds the key to set us free. And that key that he gives us is Atmacharana. Whenever a thought arises enticing us to go back into the area of possessions and get trapped, Bhagavan says, diligently keep away from that. Inquire for whom has this thought arisen. The answer will come, it has arisen for the I, for me. Then who am I? Who is that I? Inquire that. Ask that alone of the Supreme. Don't ask anything else. Then the prison doors will open. Ask only who am I? And when you practice that, the mind gets back to the source out of this prison. And the thought that arose enticing us into samsara falls away for want of pursuers. With repeated practice, Bhagavan assures one gains the ability to be effortlessly free, to be effortlessly out of samsara, and be in that absolute freedom as our very nature. Till that is understood and experienced and abided in, one should practice the key, applying the key of Atmacharana. For the next 10 minutes, with Bhagavan's immense grace, who has provided us this key, let us sit in the practice of Atmacharana. Vaibhavji is here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can set the time for us, sir.
Yes, sir, I'll do that.
Thank you. Bhagavate Shri Ramana Namo Ramana. We go on to the reading of the second verse. We are still in meditation on truth. This is the subsegment is enjoyment of sense objects. Verse number 590. The topic is enjoyment of sense objects. A person already exists as food. A person already exists as food. If without realizing this, a person thinks that he is eating food, then food will consume him and moreover enslave him to the great insatiable hunger of desire. A person, an individual, already exists as food. If without realizing this, that I am already annam, a person thinks I am the individual apart from the annam, eating the relative annam, eating food, then food will consume him and moreover enslave him to the great insatiable hunger of the discontent of the ego called desire. There is a note given by Muruganar Swamigal. This appears to be a commentary on Taittiriya Upanishad 3.10.6, where the Supreme Lord makes the following declaration. So it is taken from Taittiriya Upanishad. I am food, I am food, I am food. I am the eater of food. I am the eater of food. I am the eater of food. I am the uniter. I am the uniter. I am the uniter. I am the firstborn of the truth, prior to the gods, and the navel of immortality. He who gives me away, he alone preserves me. He who eats food, I as food eat him. I, as the Supreme Lord, overpower the whole world. I am radiant as the sun. Here, the three concepts of the Paramatma, the Ishvara, and the Jiva are there. The Bhagavan takes the point of view of Paramatma, that a person is already existing as the Atman, the sustenance, the source from which the entire universes have their rise, their existence, and their dissolution. And we are that. Tattvam Asi. We are that food. We are that annam on which not one individual, not human beings, not certain animals, but the whole set of universes present as cosmos, all of them have their birth, their existence, and their dissolution in me, the food, the adharam, the sustenance. If I forget my nature as the Atman, the source of everything, and identify with the individual as I am this body, and seek one food after another, seek that this is good, that is tasty, that is what I like, this I definitely don't like. and go after sense objects, then the Ishvara who is present as those objects, he is the relative food, the Annam, all sensory experiences of the Ishvara. That is what Taittiriya Upanishad says. In Taittiriya Upanishad, the Supreme Lord, Ishvara says, I am food, I am food, I am food. I am the eater of the food, I am the eater of the food, I am the eater of the food. I am the uniter of everything, I am the uniter, I am the uniter. If instead of identifying with I am the food, if I identify with I am the eater of the food, then I am thrown into the vast ocean of desire and I will be eaten up by the food. My Annamaya Kosha will go back to its elements. If I give prominence to the Annamaya Kosha and try to preserve it by going after this dosa or that food or this and that, then I will be eaten up by food, which is the land from which the food comes, that will eat me up. The fire from which the food is cooked, that will eat me up. Whereas when alive, when identifying with the body, one inquires who am I and identifies with the Adara, the Atman, the real Annam. The real Annam in which the entire universe, including Ishvara, have their sustenance. Ishvara, Loka, and Jiva have their sustenance, have their rise, have their existence, and their dissolution only in the self. So Bhagavan says, identify with the self, where the appearance of Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagat is merely like silver in the shell, is untrue, and the self alone is, be that Annam, then you will not be eaten up. If you identify with the body, if you identify with the sensory body, then you will feel you are going to die and you are going to be consumed by the earth and fire. Whereas right now, inquire who am I and identify with the Supreme Self, then I not only identify with the Taittiriya Upanishad shloka, where Ishvara says, Ishvara is the Annam, Ishvara is the eater, Ishvara is the uniter. Now, if you identify with the eater, the Jiva, then you will feel you are going to be consumed. Whereas if you identify with the source, then you are left undisturbed. You are not subject to birth and death. We identify with the division free consciousness, where the division as the eater and the food is not there, where the division as the subject and the object is erased. That is the Atman. Then we become that food, which is the source, the sustenance, and the dissolution of all cosmos. The practice that Bhagavan gives us to identify with this Annam is Atma-vichara, is who am I. When thought arises and makes us an eater, makes us a follower of that thought, Bhagavan says, do not follow that. That is relative food. Don't be happy with merely consuming thought forms and sensory forms. Ask for whom is this thought form? For whom is this sensory form appearing? It is appearing for me, the eater. Who am I? Who is behind the eater? Who is always present as the source of the eye, the eye of all? Let me identify with that. With repeated identification with that Annam, which is the source of all, Bhagavan assures one effortlessly remains as the division-free consciousness, where the division as subject, object, where the relative existence that I can live only by eating that food is not there. There is self-luminosity, there is self-existence. The life is eternal, is immortal, is untouched by the other. Till such life is experienced as I, one should make the effort to free oneself from the relative experiencer following experiences and identify with the Atman by inquiring who am I. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit in Atmancharam for 10 minutes. Vaibhavji, you can help us out.
Yes, sir. I'll set the alarm.
Thank you. नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय। I request our president, Aksharlata, to give us the summary of the remarks.
Namo Brahmana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. By the immense grace of that self manifest as Ramana, we have been able to sit for self inquiry after doing manana on Bhagavan's words in Guru Vachaka Kovai. Today, very beautifully, Nandakumarji highlighted the concept of annam being food, the food, everything being food upon which the mind feeds. Bhagavan says in Ulladu Narpadu, Urupatri undam, Urupatri nirkum, Urupatri und miha ongum. It is rooted in forms, the ego, it is growing by ever feeding on forms. But Uruvatrape, it actually has no form, but what is its true form? If we search, it disappears and it leaves behind the all-enveloping truth. So, when one turns, Bhagavan says, when one turns back by recognizing, as he told to Nagalakshmi Amma, the wife of the earlier 2 generations earlier president of Sri Ramanashramam, T.N. Venkatraman, his wife Nagalakshmi Amma had commented on one of the devotees wearing a beautiful sari. All she had said was, this sari is very beautiful. Immediately the devotee went and sent her 2 saris of the same kind. This came to Bhagavan's notice, as everything coming in by post would be first shown to Bhagavan, and then he told Nagalakshmi Amma, Nagu, you should remember that you already have everything. Now, Nagalakshmi Amma said, I never asked for it. But he repeated very firmly, you should remember that you already have everything. So even the thought of saying something is beautiful outside, even to that subtle extent of simply observing something as being beautiful outside, Bhagavan is pointing out happens only if there is an inside and outside, and the mind then looks outside and says, oh, that is beautiful. And then somewhere subtly that which is beautiful is wanted, and as Nandakumarji pointed out today, that which is not beautiful is rejected, and the mind gets eaten up by these thoughts. The mind is constantly, our life is constantly being eaten by these thoughts. On the others, in the reverse process, Bhagavan says that if we turn Tirumbi Ahandane, if we turn back to the self, or if we seek the self, what happens? Shapadu unnai. If instead of feeding on thoughts, we decide to feed on the self, if we decide to discover the self, if we decide to try and put the attention which is wanting to eat the objects to try and eat itself, if we சாப்பாடு உன்னை சார்ந்து உணவாயான் சாந்தமாய் போவன், says Bhagavan. What happens is then I become food unto you. One of the old devotees, Sri N.R. Krishnamurti Iyer, had a small little story. Because of the allegory of food, I was reminded of that. And he would say that there was this person who was very hungry. You see, when you're very, very hungry, we are not very hungry. Even physically, we are told that we eat by habit, and the hunger we feel is not real hunger. So when there is real hunger, we are not satisfied with something that is temporary. We are not satisfied with something that may come later. All the thoughts hold out promise of joy which will come later because they are time bound. So this man was very hungry, and he said, he went to somebody else saying, I am very hungry. Please give me something to eat right now. That person said, oh, I will certainly give you something to eat. I have just sown my seeds. The harvest will grow, it will be reaped, and then I will cook food for you. He said, forget it, I am too hungry. Then he went to another person. He said, oh, I have already reaped the harvest. I will just cook the food for you and give it to you. No, I will just take out the grain from the husk and then cook the food. He said, that would be too late. Then he went to another person. He said, it's all ready, but I just have to do the cooking and give it to you. And he said, that too would be late. And then he saw at a distance there was a hill, and there was a person seated there with having served food on a leaf plate for a guest, any guest who would come. And that food served on a leaf plate, this hungry man went towards it. And as he sat before that heap of rice on his leaf plate, the heap of rice started growing and growing and growing, and it ate him up. This is the allegorical form in which N.R. Krishnamurti Iyer represents the Shapadunai Sarndudavayan Santamai Povan. Either we can get eaten up by our thoughts, by time, which is constantly gnawing at our lives, and get eaten up by all the elements. In fact, they say every time we have to digest the food is digesting us, because the body grows older. Not only at the end, as Nandakumar ji said, not only when we become dust unto dust or fire into fire, but even every time we eat a meal physically. And similarly, when our mind eats something, it is getting eaten up by that concept. It is getting caught by that. It is getting ensnared by that. So the Bhagavan's way of Atma Vichara makes us turn within. And when we do that, then we come to the wonder of the first verse that was revealed to us today. Amma, Adisayam, Idan Sayal, Aridarko. What a wonder. As Nandakumar ji said, the word wonder is so beautiful. In its true meaning, it is silence, because one does not know. It takes us to the point of joyous non-knowing, not sorrowful non-knowing, which is mental, but the true non-knowing of surrender. It takes us to that joyous point, and ultimately, when we are ready to get into that point of absolute non-knowing, in that readiness, then we get into that state of that person who is Khalu Bhagyavantaha, who is free from all want, who is in that state where I was reminded of Bhagavan walking down the streets, clapping his hands as described by Ganapati Muni. Karatamarasena Supatravata, he made his hands his vessel for eating. He would just clap, and then whatever food was given, he would eat it from his hands itself, and then wipe his hands on his head and keep going. And Bhagavan says, I was better than a king in that state. Prostrations to Bhagavan, who is the majesty, the king, the emperor of the entire universe, by ever abiding in the self, by being the self. And prostrations to that emperor who in his munificence is sharing his entire wealth with every one of us. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana to Vaibhavji and Prarthama. Please render the Ashtotram for us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
नमो रमण भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावली अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्यौमि मात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महौजसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगद्दितावताराय नमः ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रहदिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसम्रम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपःक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ च्यूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजतचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उदीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशूणाचलदीपोतस्कन्धाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदिष्टे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः ॐ सौम्याय नमः ॐ आत्मवते नमः ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः ॐ महाभागाय नमः ॐ आत्ममुक्तिविधायकाय नमः ॐ विनताय नमः ॐ विनुताय नमः ॐ विप्राय नमः ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः ॐ मृच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः ॐ अन्तस्थिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः ॐ शोणादृशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः ॐ गुहाय नमः ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः ॐ देवतमाय नमः ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः ॐ सेनान्ये नमः ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवश तादात्म्यभावङ्गतः विनिष्टस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकरात् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय
Namo Ramana. Thank you, Vaibhavji and Pratnama. Namo Ramana to all.
Namo Ramana, sir. Namo Ramana, Vaibhavji.